trying to make all those decisions and get everything ready and be off the ground in less than 15 minutes. So it goes from being really boring to like super exciting.
Welcome to 10-Minute Travels. With me, as always, is Shane Patrick.
And with me, as always, is Phil Freeman. Tonight we're going to be talking with Ryan Skorecki, helicopter pilot that's flown all over the world. If you want to learn more about him or other things we talk about at 10 Minute Travels, check us out at 10minutetravels.com.
Let's get right to it, shall we?
So, you started in airplanes in the mid-90s.
1997, I got my private.
Okay. So, what ratings do you have now?
I mean, I did so I still have the airplane private and instrument. Of course, I'm not current on the instrument side of things. And then, so then when I went to do the helicopter ratings, the first two were just add-on ratings. So I added on my private and added on my instrument. And then I did the normal progression, commercial, CFI, double I. And then once I had the requirements, about a year later, I did my ATP. Actually, it was almost exactly 12 months after I left Mauna Loa. I came back and did my ATP at that point. And yeah, there's no more ratings I could really get. Got a few like endorsements for things like an NVG, did an NVG school years ago to fly this hospital contract, and then miscellaneous certifications through the Department of the Interior for like government, water bucket stuff.
But do you have any endorsements for like tail dragger or floats or anything with airplanes?
I did do a tail wheel endorsement, and I got an endorsement in my logbook long time ago for high performance airplanes, but I don't have a float rating or anything like that. It'd be kind of cool to do, but I don't have a float plane. It's hard to find places that will rent you float planes.
Right. All sorts of reasons. What? How many licenses do you have? How many countries are you licensed to fly?
So of course the U.S. I flew in Haiti, but they didn't require Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Like after the earthquake there, I took a 212 there and did a bunch of flying, moving people around after that earthquake happened. I forget what year that was. It was probably 2000 I think it was 2000, maybe 9 or 10. I honestly can't remember, but they didn't require any special license. They just accepted my FAA. And then I got a New Zealand ratings. So they have the CAA there. And then in Nepal, they call it validating my FAA certificates. So I don't have a license that says, a Nepali license, but I have this piece of paper that says that they have validated my FAA one. So legally I can fly there, but...
Does that one expire?
Yep. I think so. I can't read the Nepali, but I know the 2 years I've gone, I had to get I had to get another one.
Okay.
I had to get a second one. Yeah, so it must expire.
And when you're in Antarctica, that's the U.S. license, right?
Yeah, because we're operating U.S. registered planes. And actually, it might be in here. Oh no, it's not. I thought I had the Nepali. It's a green sheet of paper, but no, it's not in here. Yeah, in Antarctica, there's some Canadians down there, and they're flying Canadian registered planes, and so they have their Canadian certifications, but all of us are, at least in the American base, we're just in registered American planes or helicopters, so we have FAA ratings.
Right, and that's how it is, right? If you're whatever plane you're flying, whoever it's registered under is the license you have to hold.
Yep. I mean, that's my understanding of it.
Okay, so you've flown in a bunch of different countries, parts of the world. Let's talk about the environments that you've flown in. Cold mountains, cold higher mountains in Nepal. Have you flown desert?
Gosh, I don't not that I can think of really.
Probably a little bit here, right? Because there's Arctic desert, but it's not the desert. When people think of the desert, it's not. They don't think of Alaska, but we do have it.
Right. I mean, the closest to desert probably would be like the sections of the dry valleys in Antarctica. I mean, it's the driest place on Earth,
That sounds deserty.
Yeah. Sand dunes and everything. In certain spots of it, we're not allowed to land on them. But yeah, in the Wright Valley, the Victoria Valley, it's a high cold desert with big mountains around them, But yeah, traditional desert. No, I don't think so. Companies that I've worked for in the past have had contracts in the deserts, like in Africa and stuff, but I had never worked on any of those contracts.
What about the difference between flying bush style here and like EMS jobs?
EMS. I mean, my time with EMS, I think I hit it just right. Like I got asked to fill in, so they had to replace the helicopter on the hospital contract down in Soldotna, and the replacement was a 212, and the company didn't have, to fly that hospital contract was an NVG contract, and to fly with NVGs you have to have an instrument rating. And so when they had plenty of 212 pilots, but none of them had instrument ratings. So that left me. So I went from being this like co-pilot in the 212 basically to all of a sudden they sent me to NVG school, and all of a sudden I'm flying around this thing by myself. And so that part was kind of cool. I mean, the NVGs, I won't lie, the NVGs are cool, especially, flying through Turnagain Pass or whatever. You turn on that. I mean, if there's stars and everything out, then you can see great, but if it's overcast and there's no celestial illumination, the NVGs, it's kind of hard to, even with the NVGs, it's hard to see because there's just not a light source to illuminate things. But if you turn on that spotlight, it's just remarkable. Like the whole valley lights up,
Oh, I didn't realize that that's how those things worked, I guess.
Yeah, they just amplify the light. So, I mean, if there's no light source, then it's dark. But, yeah, you turn that spotlight on and man, you can see the whole valley. And, I'd flip up the goggles and look outside and it would look like you'd expect. It's just a black hole. You can see the spotlight kind of just disappearing into the void, but you flip the goggles down and yeah, you can, the whole valley. I mean, everything's green, but you can see everything. It's remarkable. So that was kind of cool. But the vast majority of the flying was pretty boring. Or not the flying was boring, but the vast majority of the time is boring. You're sitting there at this hospital just trying to stay awake or do whatever. And then when we had pagers at the time, I imagine it's still the same. This was in 2009. Yeah, or 2008. 2008 or 9. But yeah, the pager would go off and then, you went from being so bored you're practically asleep to, they want you off the ground in 15 minutes or less. So you're trying to, you get the call, you got to figure out where you want to go, what's the weather doing there, and and then like how much gas you need and all that stuff, and try to make all those decisions and get everything ready and be off the ground in less than 15 minutes. So it goes from being really boring to like super exciting. But a lot of the flying was probably 90% was hospital to hospital transfers. Like you got somebody in Soldotna that needs some sort of facility that they don't have. So you got to fly them to Anchorage. Or we did lots of, like, you take off, go pick up someone at the hospital in Seward, and then move them to Anchorage. And then, so that kind of flying is kind of boring in the scheme of things. Just hospital to hospital. And the scene calls, those are the ones that are kind of, they're interesting. But there just aren't a lot of them. But so then the contract ended. They lost the contract and went to a different company. So I only had to do it I think I did it for 3 months. So it was like kind of perfect. I got a taste of it and got to move on without having to quit.
Right.
But yeah, flying around, there's lots of more exciting flying than that.
That was Ryan Skorecki, helicopter pilot extraordinaire. If you want to learn more about him or anything else we talked about at 10 Minute Travels, check us out at 10minutetravels.com. And we want to remind you to make sure that your sense of humor matches your sense of adventure.
And please like, subscribe, and share this podcast on all the platforms.